welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about a pretty unique topic. We're going to be comparing two of the most iconic fantasy worlds and seeing how accessible they are for disabled people. We're going to be talking about the land of Oz from Wicked and the wizarding world of Harry Potter. So let's get started. So when we talk about accessibility, we're not just talking about ramps and elevators and those sorts of things. We're also going to be talking about how these different worlds treat disabled individuals and whether or not they overlook them entirely or accommodate them. So let's get started exploring two of the most magical places ever. Okay, so when we talk about the land of Oz, we're going to be talking about Wicked, and we'll be talking about the Wicked film that came out this year, since that's the most updated reference. So for those of you who don't know, Wicked is filled with witches, wizards, flying monkeys, talking animals, and a lot of different types of magic. But it's really interesting because the land of Oz actually gets a lot of things right, especially when it comes to accommodating individuals that use wheelchairs. So first we can take a look at Nessa Rose, who is Elphaba's sister. She uses a wheelchair, and the land of Oz actually creates a lot of very thoughtful accommodations for her so that she can get around this world independently. And they take a lot of things into consideration when making accommodations for their disabled residents. So especially when it comes to transportation. So I've actually seen this movie twice now, and during my second viewing, I noticed that there are a lot of accessible accommodations that the land of Oz has integrated into its everyday architecture and transportation systems. So for example, in order to get to Shiz University, the students have to use boats to get there. And individuals with disabilities don't have to worry about whether or not they can get to school because Shiz actually has accessible boats. In the movie, there's an accessible boat that Nessa takes to get to the university, and the docks are actually also built to accommodate wheelchair users. So it's really nice to see that Oz thought about how to get Nessa there safely and comfortably. And these same boats are actually also used to get to other places like the Oz Dust Ballroom or town, or just kind of wherever students need to travel to. But once a student is actually at Shiz University, things get even better. The university itself has ramps integrated into its architecture, like the main grand staircase, which is designed with a ramp for easy access. And these aren't just added on, they're actually built right into the overall design, so it's a really nice touch. The classrooms are also accessible with ramps and accessible desks, so disabled students have equal access to education. Even the Oz Dust Ballroom has an accessible entrance, making sure that Nessa and other disabled residents can attend events just like everyone else. While the accessible entrances to the Oz Dust Ballroom and classrooms are a bit separate, they are still clearly designed with access in mind. But here is where it gets really interesting. In Wicked, magic is a really big part of this world, and especially when it comes to Nessa's sister Elphaba, who has really impressive advanced powers. In one scene, Elphaba actually accidentally makes Nessa's wheelchair fly. While this use of magic is accidental, it does show how in Oz, magic can potentially offer solutions to accessibility. Because, I mean, if a witch or wizard can make things levitate, maybe they can just make a wheelchair fly up the stairs, and we don't even need to worry about ramps. And enchanted wheelchairs are just the answer. But you do end up learning from Madden Warble that levitation is actually considered a very advanced power. So your typical day-to-day witch or wizard wouldn't be able to do this. It's not like they can just snap their fingers and make their wheelchair fly, or cast a spell and just like make a ramp appear. So basically, until someone actually develops the advanced power of levitation, the Land of Oz would have to make some sort of accommodation so that the disabled individual would be able to access things like stores or education or transportation. So yeah, I mean, they have the ramps and the accessible boats and all that stuff just to help people until they're able to possibly make things levitate. But it seems like a lot of witches and wizards don't actually end up ever being able to achieve this advanced form of magic. It takes a lot of practice and talent. So yeah, I mean, in the meantime, you have to have something available. So ramps are the answer. So, I mean, while magic holds the potential to solving a lot of accessibility issues and problems, Oz definitely has things right when it comes to accessibility by integrating these things into its everyday architecture and world so that we don't have to rely on magic while living there. Magic alone doesn't solve all the issues. Okay, so now let's switch over to the wizarding world of Harry Potter. It's similar to Oz in a lot of ways. There's flying brooms, spells, and a whole lot of wizards. But it handles accessibility way differently. And in short, accessibility isn't great in the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Even though it's full of magic, Hogwarts especially doesn't seem to make any effort to making their school accessible for students with disabilities. So take the Hogwarts Express, for example. In the films, we never see any kind of ramp or lift for wheelchair users, but at the theme park, there is an accessible train. So I guess both versions are technically accurate, but let's be real, it would be nice to see if wizards in this world had more accessible transportation options. And it's not just the train to Hogwarts. The school itself isn't accessible, like at all. The classrooms are full of stairs and there are no ramps in sight, plus those massive moving staircases that lead to the dorms. Yeah, imagine trying to navigate those in a wheelchair. Not fun or realistic at all. So while you think magic would be the solution here, it's clear that the physical infrastructures of the school just don't cut it for students with mobility disabilities. But wait a second, so this is also a magical world like Oz, so maybe magic is the answer here? Because, I mean, students could just make a wheelchair fly like Alphabet did, right? Maybe. But there is a wizarding school, so it's not like everyone can just make things fly. But levitation is a little bit different in the wizarding world because you can just buy a broomstick that automatically flies. So couldn't you just buy a wheelchair that automatically flies? Honestly, I'm not really sure. I guess we would have to ask J.K. Rowling herself. But in the meantime, let's just explore one other thing. So there is one character with a disability that has a pretty significant role in the Harry Potter series, and that is Professor Mad-Eye Moody. And he actually has some pretty significant and interesting magical tech that helps him navigate the world with his disability. So after Mad-Eye Moody loses his leg and eye in a wizarding battle, this wizarding world comes through with two different types of prosthetics. His magical eye, for example, which lets him see through anything and in all directions, which is way cooler than any other eye I've ever seen. And his prosthetic leg also allows him to move around the world with more ease. On top of that, we know that magical medicine in Harry Potter is also way ahead of its time. A great example of this is when Harry Potter breaks his arm in the Chamber of Secrets, and he is quickly treated with a simple healing potion which magically mends his bones and his arm in a matter of hours. And this isn't actually the only example of this. There are also potions and spells that can heal wounds and restore lost limbs. So if magic can heal broken bones and provide these awesome prosthetics, magic could potentially be the answer to any accommodation that would be needed. So while the wizarding world of Harry Potter doesn't exactly provide the structural accommodations like ramps and accessible public transportation like the Land of Oz does, the wizarding world does provide answers and accommodations for disabled people with the use of magic. So it seems like in the wizarding world, magic is there to help. Still though, with a school as top-notch as Hogwarts, it seems like they would make it a little bit more of a priority for the school to be accessible to all individuals. So when we look at the two magical worlds, the wizarding world of Harry Potter and Wicked's Land of Oz, we can see that both worlds take a pretty different approach towards accessibility, and surprisingly, Oz does a very good job integrating accessible features into the everyday lives of its residents. On the other hand, the wizarding world of Harry Potter could use some help. So with that being said, I would definitely say that the Land of Oz from Wicked wins the Accessibility Award for most accessible fantasy world. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are there other fantasy worlds that you think are more accessible than the Land of Oz or less accessible than the wizarding world of Harry Potter? Let me know. I love to just think about topics like this. Kind of random, but really interesting. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that little bell button down below to receive a notification the next time I upload a video. I hope you have a phenomenal day, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys. Right. Now, the question is, can I turn off my camera? Oh, also I need to do this. Haha, that's what it was. I used to do the other arm first. Okay. I don't want to touch the lens. There we go. Haha, success.